Over 300 years ago, the northwest coast of America was shaken by a powerful earthquake, causing numerous fires and triggering a massive tsunami. That day, hundreds of settlements were submerged, and thousands of people went missing. The cause of it all was Cascadia. Spanning an area of 700 kilometers, the Cascadia subduction zone is located in the braking region of the Pacific Plate, making it a high earthquake risk area. Additionally, the presence of the Juan de Fuca Plate to the west, within the same fault system, amplifies Cascadia's earthquake risk. Earthquakes that might occur in the region can bring about significant damage, loss of life, and have crucial environmental and economic consequences. Every 250 years, Cascadia experiences a slip, resulting in an earthquake greater than magnitude 8. The alarming part is that it seems Cascadia is due for another movement. How can we know if we are in danger? Often before earthquakes, unexplained flashes of light can be seen in the sky or minor tremors around nearby volcanoes. But when it comes to Cascadia, things change. There's no such thing as a warning sign, let alone a foreshock. Geologists didn't even know the region was dangerous until the end of the last century. Over time, they discovered that the Juan de Fuca Plate, which should slide smoothly beneath the North American plate, was getting jammed. The pressure between these plates increases daily, and one day all the stored energy will be released. Scientists from Oregon State University have stated there's a 33% chance of an earthquake occurring within the next 50 years. But it could also happen within the next few years. This disaster will affect the entire Northwest Pacific, including states like Oregon, Washington, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, and Northern California. It's predicted that Cascadia could cause an earthquake with a magnitude of over 9. No one can precisely predict when, but residents of the region are advised to always be prepared and on alert. It's a known fact that just before an earthquake, dogs start to howl and mice begin to scatter. These animals can detect vibrations unknown to us. Their reactions mean an earthquake will occur about 30 seconds after the first seismic wave. Residents of states further from Cascadia, like Montana and Wyoming, will have approximately 6 minutes to travel as far east as possible. Heading in any other direction would be signing their death warrants because, at the moment of the earthquake, the edge of the plate will drop, creating a tsunami moving at 19 kilometers per hour, affecting a 960-kilometer radius. In 1700, a giant wave created by such a tectonic fault traveled 10,000 kilometers and hit the shores of Japan. The disaster submerged rice fields, wiped out more than a dozen buildings, and caused fires, leading to the destruction of many other structures. People fled to higher grounds but were left homeless and hungry. The Japanese named this the orphan tsunami because no one understood what triggered this catastrophe. How to act in case of an earthquake in Cascadia. The tremor here will cause the collapse of thousands of homes, intense fires, landslides, and the destruction of dams. Authorities have begun to encourage all residents to implement a preparedness phase called the 2-week readiness. This means that every family should have a set of essential food items, clothing, and medicine to survive in extreme conditions for at least 2 weeks while waiting for rescue teams. To use this survival kit, first and foremost, you need to survive the tremor in your own home. To do this, you should first move heavy and large items to the floor or low shelves and remove everything that could fall on you. Ensure there are no obstacles, such as large objects or furniture, in your escape route and at your door entrances. Secure computers and televisions with special safety straps. It's also essential to install fasteners like safety latches on your kitchen cabinets. In the devastating earthquake that struck Northridge, California in 1994, thousands were injured, and many lost their lives due to falling objects. According to a study by the University of California, Los Angeles, over 50% of injuries during the earthquake were caused by falling furniture or objects, while only 1% resulted from building damage. Especially those near the epicenter should know the drop cover hold on position. When a tremor is felt, you should drop to protect the head and neck, take cover under a table if possible, or hold onto something sturdy. Once the shaking stops, you should evacuate the building. Being prepared for what might be seen outside is hard, but there's no other choice. Thousands of buildings might be collapsed or on fire. Oregon, in addition to its own resources, also has large fuel stocks for Southwest Washington. Deformed fuel tanks starting to leak can result in fires ignited by the smallest spark. All of these are imminent, so there's no stopping. Regions like Seaside will only have 20 minutes to evacuate before being hit by a tsunami. During this time, one must try to move inland or escape to higher ground. The native tribe living around Shoalwater Bay received conditional fund support to build a vertical evacuation tower against tsunami threats. But there are only 2 such towers in the U.S. The number of tsunami victims could exceed 70,000 in winter and over 150,000 in summer. Anyone who fails to escape or move to higher ground will face the massive waves. Areas including Seattle, Portland, Eugene, Salem, Vancouver Island, and Victoria will be submerged, covering over 160,000 square kilometers. It might seem like it can't get any worse, but what if it does? What if the Cascadia Fault isn't the end? The disaster in Cascadia might trigger a chain reaction. You've probably heard of the San Andreas Fault, a continental transform fault of about 1,200 kilometers between the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate. It mostly extends along the coasts of California. San Andreas has caused many earthquakes, with magnitudes over 9. The most famous is the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Intense tremors reached from southern Oregon to south of Los Angeles, and even as far as 70 kilometers inland in Nevada. As a result of the earthquake and subsequent fires, up to 3,000 people lost their lives. About 300,000 were left homeless, and 80% of buildings collapsed. The earthquake was accompanied by surface fractures spreading over an 8.5-meter area. The main point here is that the San Andreas Fault connects with the plate boundary in the Cascadia subduction zone north of Mendocino Cape. A few years ago, researchers decided to test whether these influenced each other. It was found that in the last 3,000 years, a major earthquake in Cascadia led to the San Andreas Fault breaking 9 to 11 times. This means that when Cascadia is subjected to an earthquake, San Andreas will likely follow suit, leading to back-to-back earthquakes triggering a tsunami. This time, the destruction will spread from Canada to Mexico. Do you think the disaster will only affect the northwest coasts of America? Look closely at the map. Cascadia is located under a series of volcanoes in an area called the Ring of Fire. Waking up volcanoes like Yellowstone isn't a good idea. Its eruption would be equivalent to the power of 1,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs detonating every second. The effects of this disaster will be felt far and wide, affecting people in unimaginable ways. Warning from UNESCO. UNESCO issued a warning that Europe is under threat. News emerged suggesting that within about 30 years, major Mediterranean coastal cities, including Istanbul, Marseille, and even Alexandria, could be hit by a tsunami. Scientists from the international organization claim their calculations are close to accurate. Additionally, the UN stated that next year's list of cities that might be hit by a tsunami will include 40 cities from 21 countries. Predicting the height of the wave is still challenging, but if it reaches 1.5 meters, it can sweep away cars, damage power lines, and submerge the first floors of residences. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem likely that Europe will escape with just this. Moreover, a tsunami isn't even the most dangerous maritime disaster. In 2004, a British family went to Mai Khao Beach in Thailand to swim in the ocean. At that time, 10-year-old Tilly Smith suddenly became anxious and told her family a tsunami was approaching. Her mother dismissed this as her daughter's imagination and continued to walk towards the water. Most people can't recognize an impending tsunami. Therefore, UNESCO began developing a program to prepare people for the impending disaster. This way, those living in hazardous zones can learn how to distinguish the signs of an incoming tsunami from false alarms. However, alongside tsunamis, there are unpredictable rogue waves, ranging from 18 to 500 meters in height. In 1933, the oil ship USS Ramapo faced a 34-meter wave. Such a wave could submerge half of Nosi Alanyaya Light, the tallest lighthouse in Africa. Fortunately, the ship survived relatively unscathed, and the crew survived. So how did scientists conclude that a tsunami will soon hit Europe? Predictions suggest the cause may be the active Mount Etna, located on Sicily Island, Italy. Researchers noticed the mountain is gradually and inevitably sliding into the Mediterranean. The volcano already erupted twice in 2022. Such tectonic shifts have historically resulted in deadly catastrophes for humanity. That's why Tilly didn't calm down and begged her family to flee immediately. Her father eventually believed her. Not long before, Indonesia's Sumatra Island narrowly escaped an earthquake that ejected about 30 cubic kilometers of water into the Indian Ocean over 10 minutes. The tsunami reached the coasts of Indonesia, Sri Lanka, South India, and Thailand, where Tilly's family was. The recorded maximum wave height that day was 30 meters, taller than the Democracy Monument in Thailand. The tsunami resulted in the loss of at least 184,000 lives, but Tilly's family managed to avoid a tragic end. The aftermath of a large-scale tsunami in European cities would be even more horrifying. Looking at Japan, which has experienced tsunamis and earthquakes many times, can give an idea of potential impacts. Japan's frequent encounters with natural disasters stem from its location at the convergence of 4 tectonic plates: Pacific, North American, Eurasian, and Filipino. The country also lies within the volcanic Ring of Fire. In 1792, Mount Unzen showed activity for 2 months, alongside a series of earthquakes. Eventually, one of its dome-like formations collapsed into the sea, causing a massive tsunami. The wave reached heights equivalent to Ushiku Daibutsu, one of Japan's most famous statues, at 100 meters. The disaster claimed 14,000 lives. When journalists asked Tilly Smith how she could predict the tsunami, she said she noticed something unusual in the waves hitting the coast. According to her, the water started to recede, and strange foam formations began to appear on the waves. She remembered these signs from a video her geography teacher showed about a tsunami disaster in Hawaii in 1946. In the video, waves didn't retreat to the sea, they rolled inland. The same was happening at the beach she visited with her family. These are the main signs that a massive wave will soon cover the coast. However, those living on the coast can predict a tsunami even earlier. Firstly, they can notice the water receding. Before a colossal wave hits the coast, the water recedes as far back as possible. Paying attention to animals and birds on the street can also be beneficial. Animals instinctively sense an approaching tsunami and start to flee away from the water. In regions where tsunamis frequently occur, people keep fish in their homes. When a disaster is imminent, the fish in the aquarium start to act strangely and squirm, thereby alerting their owners to an approaching natural hazard. Upon hearing the news of a potential tsunami from his daughter, Tilly Smith's father approached hotel staff to evacuate the beach. Thus, the young girl saved not only her family, but also about 100 tourists and facility workers on that dreadful day. Tilly was nicknamed the Beach Angel. From Tilly's story, you'd understand the importance of taking immediate action in such situations. While the government can warn the public about a nuclear disaster, predicting the exact timing of a tsunami formation is much more challenging. The tsunami resulting from the 2011 Tohoku earthquake disabled the power units at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, causing a massive disaster. The wave reached the coast in just 10 minutes. This means you have very little time to save yourself. The first thing to do is to get away from the coast, since a tsunami is likely to sweep all the roads, and escaping by car isn't a good idea. It's best to proceed on foot towards hills and mountains. Waiting out a tsunami in a skyscraper won't save you either. Intense water pressure can and likely will break the glass. So if you're in a tall building during a disaster, it might be a good idea to wait on the roof. If you're trapped and can't get away from the coast, climb a sturdy tree. This will give you more time to react and prepare for the incoming tsunami. Tilly Smith's story demonstrates that, regardless of age, anyone can make a significant difference in saving lives during a disaster. Therefore, be vigilant, notice the signs, and don't wait to react if you suspect danger.